Tá compartilhando. Good afternoon for everyone. Be welcome to INDUSCON 2021. This is the plenary section, Tu5Plenaries, and we will watch the response to Covid-19 and new circumstances for production presentation. It's a good pleasure to be in this session with the co-chair, Professor Alexandre Acácio. Good afternoon, Professor Acácio.
Good afternoon, Marcosiris.
And it's a good pleasure to be here with the keynote speaker, Mr. Pablo Roberto Fava. Good afternoon.
Hello, Marcosiris. Hello, Acácio. Nice to be with
Pablo.
you today.
Oh, was great. Nice to meet you. Yes. I will introduce a little bit about Mr. Pablo Roberto Fava. He holds a degree in electromechanical engineering from Universidade Tecnológica Nacional, UTN, and an MBA in Business Administration from Fundação Getúlio Vargas. He started his career in 1996 at Siemens Argentina, and in March 2020, he became Chief Executive Officer of Siemens Brazil. He's a director of the German-Brazil Chamber of Commerce and Industry of São Paulo, and the Brazilian Association of Machinery and Equipment Industry, ABMAC. He is a member of the Leaders Committee of the National Confederation of Industry and the Leaders Committee for Business Mobilization for Innovation, a member of the Board of Directors of the Brazilian Business Council for Sustainable Development. Pablo, thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you very much, Marcosiris and Acácio, for the presentation. Good afternoon to everyone. I have here, I hope you can see my presentation. I think it's already in your screens. Is it right, Marcosiris?
Yes.
Excellent. So everybody, Professor Marcosiris asked me to present this kind of, this was a proposal. What is the response to COVID-19 and what are the new circumstances for production? And I try to bring the vision from Siemens in this regards, the topics that we have been going through over all this time. So in perspective, starting from the very beginning, just what are the let's say the economical view or the impacts on our society in Brazil? You see there on the investment intentions, there was a really a downturn, very strong in April and May last year. You see there a comparison. The light green line was an average between 2014 and 2019, and the other green line is 2020. And then you can see really that the intentions to invest in Brazil has been coming down. And also you see the employment development. Those are all figures from the CNI, the Brazilian National Confederation of Industries. And you see the employment development going down also very, very fast in April last year. There were very concerning informations also from the perspective of the business confidence index. This is the confidence for entrepreneurs, for companies in order to invest for the future. What did they expect afterwards? And then you see in this historical series really a strong downturn in terms of the confidence index. So the topic at that time, this was April 2020, everybody, or March actually, 2020, everybody remember, it was a time of a lot of questions and less answers. Nobody knew at that time, where are we going to? Is it going to recover into a V shape, a W shape? Maybe it's gonna be an L. All what's happening with our investments, with industries, with our society, with our economies. It's gonna be a V, a W, an L, maybe an U turn, or how do we work on that? So the important point at that time was an immediate crisis response. And I pointed out here down the word collaboratively, because this is really, I would say, the most important message for all of us. Out of COVID, really, when tough times are coming, people are more keen to collaborate one to each other, and also companies is the same stuff. So companies work hard and collaboratively with their suppliers, partners, customers in order to adapt and overcome such adverse scenario. And this is from Siemens. Those are figures of 1 year. We have just counted how many measures and countermeasures actually against COVID we have done in exactly 365 days of pandemics. And then you see a lot of engagements in internal videos for our people in order to train on how to work and how to take care as soon as people has been knowing much more of this pandemic. You see the 19 hospitals have been impacted through philanthropic measures done by Siemens. There were some 1.5 million people benefited out of it, 700,000 reais in BNDES saving lives, 4.3 million reais also donations. We have done an internal crowdfunding that has been matched by our Werner von Siemens Foundation in Brazil, and match with doubled whatever we have been donated as employees, we as employees, and all this money has been brought into investments in health, in hospitals, and so on. Well, you see a lot of other topics in terms of ergonomic accessories, chairs because everybody is now, or a lot of people are in home office. Over 800,000 protective masks. Whatever. A lot of measures done by Siemens. But this is related to social engagement of our company in Brazil. This is only in Brazil, right? Social engagement. But how about our technology and what we have seen in terms of fast adaptations in order to go against COVID? This is one example. And I have some examples in order to open up discussions, to open up ideas, or how technology has been helping through these difficult times. This is an example of a robot for this disinfection in China for larger surfaces in hospitals. It has been developed in only 1 week, in just 1 week, using Siemens NX softwares. Maybe some of you already know those softwares, and also TIA Portal engineering tools for the automation of this stuff. Then you have here an example in Brazil. In Brazil, the Hospital Oswaldo Cruz contacted us and said, look, guys, I have breathing ventilators which are non-invasive. And those ventilators are not able to be, if you remember, ventilators were the most important topics, equipment in hospitals, because people really needed this equipment. It was critical for them. So, but the non-invasive ventilators were not able to be used in COVID people, because you would have contaminations of the air in the environment. So they requested, is it possible to build up a valve in order to make the exhalation valve in order to use those non-invasive breathing ventilators? And it has been developed using 3D modeling with Siemens softwares, also in partnerships, collaboration, and so on. Hospital Oswaldo Cruz, Siemens, Institute Biofabris, and also the Unicamp. 3D modeling and also 3D printing. In less than 15 days, it has been done, and it was implemented also in the hospital. Here's another example. As I said, ventilators, very strong need for those equipments at that time. So Gray Logics is a system integrator of Siemens. Again, collaboration, as I said in the beginning. They projected and built up these emergency ventilators in record time. It was in just 3 weeks. They had an example. It has been tested in hospital and it has been tested by Anvisa in also in record times, and it was a big benefit for many hospitals that it has been delivered. It's all being done with industrial equipment, but actually, industrial equipment also working, that the harsh environments where we are using our products, our systems, it's something that you have to trust on that, and it's also very valuable also for health applications. Here is another example, and this is technology innovation in order to support how to project that people is not going close to each other. This is for the mounting facilities of a ventilator. This is, I think it's an example from Spain, if I'm right. And then you see that when making the projection of everything, that all the mounting processes and so on, how people is moving and so on, then the software identifies the points that in your projects where you're gonna have people joining or closer one to each other, and then there are points that you have to work on your sheets and your here of the intervals, and then also on the throughput calculation. This is one example being used for some industries as well, using our, I think it's a Technomatics portfolio of Siemens. Let me see if the video is go through, and you can see all the projects, and then you find also the number of distance violations during this is a simulation on how the complete process is gonna work. And then you have the simulation, validation, and realization to model the production to ensure safety in the workplace. This is another example how technology has been helping through this time. One other example, maybe some of you are working in our tools, in our PLM softwares, and then we have enabled customers to work from home with design, with simulation, development, engineering tools. And then it has been open this home use of the Siemens software licenses for design and for simulation. So it was possible to make home office also for the engineering departments. You know that we have a free version of Mendix softwares. Mendix is a platform for low-code programming of apps, and also the Siemens TIA portal, the automation platforms in the cloud to engineer production plants from home. We have built up those technologies already existed, some of those, or I would say more of them, but actually has not been used before because there was no much of a need. It was used in some particular cases. But then you see how such a new challenge like a pandemic, you need to be prepared for all those kind of technologies in order to flexibilize somehow and to keep operations up and running. Here's another example, and those are smart glasses. One topic from our customers: please don't come to my factory anymore, but make service of my factory. And please, I cannot go to your factory in order to make an acceptance test. Give me a way to make an acceptance test from the distance. And how we have done this? Through industrial smart glasses. Those are glasses that we are using with our service guys. They are helping because it's more interactive with the people that you're connected with. And then in this case, it's in use for remote support by a highly specialized professional via dedicated audio and video connection with in-local resources. Actually, you have really everything that if a person is doing a movement or so, you can ping on your screen, and then the person sees that and knows exactly which is the point to act. And it's much more easy than just by telephone, right? It's using those new technologies. It's possible also to share documentation with customers, and in the application it's more interactive, or whatever service you have to be, it has to be done from the distance. And there is also a additional integration. It's possible with the Siemens CRSP. It's a Common Remote Service Platform. CRSP stands for Common Remote Service Platforms, enabling this man-machine connection to define the identified field and necessary procedures. Another example. Here you have another example. We have our C-Train. C-Train is our training center, and we received the people in our facilities in order to train everybody, because you need the equipment in front of you in order to check, okay, program the PLC, codification, make communication here and there, and so on and so on and so on. So how do we do that now? So the answer was through virtualization of everything. Virtualization of PLC with all the behaviors of a PLC, whatever controller it is, virtualization of an HMI, the connection between all of them, the drives also, and how do they behave, also CNCs and numeric controls and so on, and also for DCS. The topic is putting everything into the cloud, let's say a virtual controllers, in order to make the training and to person to program everything without having the hardware in front of them. This was actually I would say a good advance for us, because it was not, we haven't even thought before that, but due to the pandemic, you have no chance. And then there you see how challenges are bringing new opportunities. And nowadays is perfectly fine. We're doing trainings from the distance with the possibility of all these interactions with the equipment in a virtual mode. No? The technology was, as I said before, already existent, but as you can see, it has been accelerated the implementation because of a new challenge that appeared for all of us. So, and we can say nowadays that the worst has passed already, has gone. Even if it's a dramatic situation. We have almost 1,000 people dying every day here in Brazil, as in many other countries. But at least from the perspective of industries in Brazil are recovering. The confidence is rising. The production is resuming. Investments are returning, and now it's a new normal way of doing business, let's say. So there you can see that in figures. The main challenge now is lack or high cost of raw materials, particularly in electronic components. You see here the percentage, the left graphic, you see the percentage of companies that marked those issues, the lack or high cost of raw materials and the components, those issues as one of the main challenges that they're presenting now. And it was not a big deal in Q1 2020, in Q2 2020, but starting Q3 last year, a lot of companies suffered because of lack of raw materials, lack of inputs for their factories. And this is happening due to this combination of growth and limited inventories. There has been a shortage or even a high cost of raw material, which is the main problem. And then you see on the right side the average capacity utilization. And in the green line, you see the year 2021. We are above 70% of utilization. Above 70%, investments are being placed, or investments are needed. So we expect really that the industry is really coming up again. We have seen that over the last months. And you see that also from the perspective of confidence that I've shown you before. The optimism from CEOs, from companies in order to invest has been improving and become stable nowadays in the Brazilian industry. So this is the business confidence index, going from 56 points to 62 points. This is a big increase in July 2021. So, but what does it mean? So that it means after COVID, we from Siemens, we have a perspective that actually the playing fields have fundamentally changed, fundamentally changed. And then you see 5 perspectives or pillars of this change. First one is the modernization of remote work resources, which is clear for us, and it's something that we are seeing more and more every day. We see also a centralization of monitoring and diagnosis of operations and assets, automation of manual processes. As much as everybody is able to do that, people is trying or looking for how to automate whatever a manual process is in my plant. And also remote services are essential part of this product innovation. And last but not least, the flexible supply chain. It's something that everybody is looking for. Nobody is willing to count only in one supplier. Everybody understood what the risks are behind that. And then this is also a big pillar that we see for the future. And after this ramp up of and stabilizing the production, there are new circumstances. And what do those industries need to change for the long term? And then you see 5 topics that sometimes look like, okay, this is clear, it's right, but sometimes it's not happening. And that's what we need to work on to make it, let's say, for more resilient and more adaptable companies. The first point is industries. The first point is flexibility. The industries, the industrial process have to be flexible in order to adapt to strong changes that we have seen in the market. This one has been a strong change. It was from a, let's say, average good situation to absolute zero to a perfect situation, and it's tough to adapt industrial processes in this environment. Speed up whatever we need to do. This is, of course, is a demand all over the world. Availability of the industrial process, a resilient way of doing the process, and there's where automation and digitalization are entering in order to make more available. Safety and security for people. No way, we need to increase the safety and security. Later on, I will talk a little bit about ESG topics, but it's a strong, let's say, concern about how do we deal with this with people, and also the dependency on the inputs, on the resources for our plants. Those are, I would say, the 5 changes, or at least topics to be worked by industries. So, and what are the drivers for that? Of course, productivity, efficiency, in some cases, local production of small lots. It's something that it's going to bring good advantages depending on the industry. Diversified supply chains, of course, no doubts about it, and particularly environmental efficiency. Even if we had before COVID a strong concern about it, it has been accelerated, I would say, the discussions about it, and I will give you more hints on my last slide. And there are technologies arising in order to solve all those topics. Clearly, artificial intelligence is something that we in Brazil have to work very strongly. We at Siemens, we're working together with IPT and with FAPESP in order to develop AI applications in order to bring into our industries. Hardware and software platforms. This is another very important topic. Think in platforms and think in ecosystems. This is something very important, because at the end of the day, particular solutions that we're bringing into one plant, in 5 years from now, we might look behind and say, okay, what have I done? And when I will need to integrate everything, or to put a data that I have in one platform and also in another platform, to join that in order to take a new conclusion that it's important for me. So let's think always in platforms. edge and cloud computing, not as competitors, but as collaborative way of edge and cloud. Really, there are advantages depending on the applications for one or the other. Industrial 5G might provoke really a revolution in many countries, and you know that in Brazil we're actually doing fine in terms of the regulatory framework. In Brazil, we already have a nice open way where our industries, even our infrastructures, we can use it for hospitals, we can use it for airports, or even for the power distribution. 5G is actually, I would say, well done, the framework, the regulatory framework in Brazil. Additive manufacturing as a very strong contributor, also clear for all of you. Autonomous handling systems, it's also a tendency or a trend. Services based on artificial intelligence as well, and also special solutions or applications for verticals. This is something that can be replicated from one to the other. Again, collaborative. In some cases, we're coming to competitors, but both of them are customers of Siemens, and we see both of them contributing in order to improve their efficiency, their productivity, the way that they produce their materials. In order to give you I will give you one example that I think it's very representative, particularly in this moment of time, because I think everybody of you already know nowadays the company BioNTech, or have heard about this company. BioNTech is the one that developed the vaccine for Pfizer. But BioNTech is actually a family company in Germany, and they really didn't have any chance in order to make a difference in the world, because they don't have industrial facilities as Pfizer has. So BioNTech has been working in other cases with Siemens in the past, and they transformed their operations into 100% digital operations. In that case was, I think it was 3 years ago, particularly for tumor vaccines, and they enabled all their processes from lab to packaging in order to make it customized for a particular patient. They develop and they deliver exactly the vaccine, or actually it's not a vaccine, it's in that case it's a medicament, a medicine, particularly for that person. And the next one, I would say batch, it's for another person, and the next one is for another person. Can you imagine the challenge of doing that into a industrial environment? And they were able to do that, establishing a flexible way of doing that with Op Center, with some Siemens solutions, and they were able to, let's say, to make it much faster, the time between development, the fastest, here is in the title, the fastest way from the lab to the practical applications. And it helped them in order to go faster on a new vaccine also for COVID. This is what they have gone through last year. You see a company that has been prepared because of another reason. It was because of customization of cancer medicines, customized exactly for each one, using all those processes in order to accelerate the development and also the production of COVID vaccines. And there it's a clear message that digitalization, working with automation, it's helping in many other cases as well. It's a flexible plant, and I can imagine this kind of examples we're gonna see much frequently in the future. And I said to you also about ESG, because additionally we have been isolated through a long period. A lot of us, at least this is my case. I can imagine that many of you have gone through an isolation over time, and also this isolation have given us more time in order to think in higher levels, I would say. Think on the world, think on our societies, think on what are we doing with our world and the way that we are consuming and so on. And people is really rethinking habits, and COVID has, from our perspective, COVID has also accelerated also that, the concern about our habits, the way that we are consuming and so on. And then you see 4 examples here. Here is written, population is demanding a greater accountability of companies regarding environment, social and governance topic, ESG. And I would say not only population is demanding that, it's something that maybe years ago nobody would believe that, but actually capital markets are looking only for money. That's our impressions. Actually, not any longer. Capital markets, the investors are moving their capitals to companies, to investments that are more ESG driven. It's not only a matter of winning more money. And that's a strong message for the world. This is really, I would say, a way of bringing concerns or bringing new concepts into what we all knew about those markets. Also promoting the adoption of an agenda of energy efficiency for everybody of us. We are doing that here at Siemens. We established 2025 as our year in Brazil. Worldwide is 2030. In Brazil, because of we are in a country that is already driven by sustainable energies and so on, and it's an easy way for us to do that. We just have to think and make some investments. 2025 is our year for zero footprint at Siemens in Brazil. That's our plan. And also implementing solutions such as battery banks to equalize the company's consumption, make peak savings in order to use as much as we can the basic power generation, which is hydraulic here in Brazil, hydropower. And also fueled by renewable and sustainable energies like in Siemens Energy. Siemens Energy is working strongly on this transformation from gas and oil powered world into a green world and developing green hydrogen solutions for this power. All in all, I would say that the digital and automated solutions are crucial to ensure that the companies can respond with more flexibility and faster to crisis situations and also changing market demands. And this is a sentence from Thomas Fuller: the night is always darkest before dawn. And that's what we can more or less make a sum up of, or a resume of what we have been going through in COVID. We are still recovering, but hopefully that means that sunrise is coming for all of us. Okay, this was my presentation. I don't know if my time was okay. Professor Marcosiris, Professor Acácio, this was my presentation. Hope you have some questions or...
Yes. Thank you very much, Pablo. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Yes, we have some questions about the internet. One question is about there are a very interesting the work where the people strike it inside the cell. The people are tracked using camera or another sensor.
A great question, because actually maybe it's not clear that there are different applications. We have one application in order to track the people, and then you have to bring a tag with you. This is another application that we have also for buildings. This one is in order to project because you can simulate a plant and how you're gonna build up. This is a plant for mounting, a mounting facility, and then you're projecting how this is going to behave, and then you're projecting also movements from people in these tools. I think this one is technomatics, if I'm right. So the thing is, you can project and you can run into a digital environment what's going to happen, and then you can check that actually you're going to have through this process you're going to have maybe people joining in one certain point of time. So readapt the way of doing the process, and then you're going to avoid this close joint of people.
That's
So
great.
it's really to project all the industrial process.
Thanks, Pablo. There are one questions about the flexibility supply chain. What is the main concept to reach a flexibility supply chain, a flexible supply chain?
Well, this is a great question, but actually, I would say before everything, develop more than one supplier. This is the first answer. It is important to have options when you, particularly for one industry. We at Siemens, we are going also through challenges at this moment, particularly with electronic components. So develop a way of having a network of suppliers. The second topic, as much as you can, integrate digital solutions in order to understand really not only your supply chain, but also the supply chain of your supplier. Bring transparency on the complete process. And you can also, if it is possible for you, and we have that also with some customers, if it is possible also for you, that you have this in advance, really, you can anticipate that a challenge is going to happen in the future. Huh? This is one other topic. If you are not allowed to go through the process of your provider, at least maybe your provider is able to deliver you this kind of information. Sometimes this is also important. There is connections with EDI and other connections with those companies, But it's something you have to think from, I would say, from many perspectives. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Pablo, Professor Alexandre, there are one question. Alexandre, please. Is in the mute mode.
You're mute. Yeah.
Yes, you're mute.
Excuse me. Pablo, my question is, how does Siemens Brazil face the challenge of the Industrial 4.0 paradigm in the country where the COVID-19 pandemic is not under control and a part of the industry is still in version 2.0. I am optimistic about this too. Okay.
Look, Alexandre, it's a good question. It's a good question. I would say sometimes we are very, I'd say, negative from the perspective of Brazil. Or we say, okay, Brazil, we are in industry 2.0 or so. I don't think that this is the right topic, because there has been a lot of creating a lot of concepts behind that. People is really informed about it. And we have seen many good changes and many good examples in Brazil. Even in Brazil, we have examples. I would mention one of those. I think it's because it's open, it's already, I can mention even the company. With BASF, we have an example here in Brazil of making a digital twin of a process plant. It's not an automotive, it's a process plant. It's not very easy to make a digital twin. Right. And this is an example that BASF has brought to Germany as a benchmark, and they received the prize for that. This is one example where we in Brazil, the Germans looking at those guys, oh guys, what are you doing there? Oh, nice. Let's replicate the Brazilian guys into other countries. So I wouldn't say that we are that we are not in a good. Of course, we are not top, but at least we are going through. And we have in Brazil Industry 4.0 chamber. It's already built. We have a nice environment for 5G in Brazil, and this is going to help us a lot, particularly for agribusiness, for minerals, and for other industries, and also for infrastructures. Yeah? Um, I would say there are Lei do Bem. There are a lot of investments. Really, our people is really trying to help. And I receive in many cases I received from and it's not talking about politics or so. I'm just mentioning that receiving questions from the government. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? Where do we? And as I received a Siemens, I'm sure that many other technology companies are receiving those kind of questions and interests. What do we do in order to avoid to provoke really that our industries are more competent against other industries outside of Brazil? So from my perspective, I'm pretty, I would say, positive for the future, pretty optimistic.
Thank you, Pablo. It's great to you are optimistic.
Yeah.
I I
Well,
will say,
we have one challenge, Alessandro, from my perspective, and the challenge is exactly here: education.
okay.
We're not gonna have the people that we need in the future.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Marcos?
Yes, yes, Pablo. We have one more questions. And what were the biggest challenges the company faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, and
Mhm.
what the lessons were learned?
Hmm. A very good question. I will give you my impression as responsible for everybody that is working at Siemens. My first challenge was to keep everybody safe. This is the most important point. Keep everybody safe. And we have been working a lot with that. We have been really, can you imagine the worst thing that can happen to you is having to call someone, the mother, the wife, or the son of one of my colleagues to, it's really tough because we have lost someone. This is really, really tough. And that's something that me and all the directory of Siemens, we have been working hard with all the teams, also everybody involved, in order to let's look for a way to avoid, for whatever reason, that everybody we lose one colleague of us. The second one was, how do we keep the operations of our customers up and running? And I have shown you some solutions here that we have even done in Brazil, actually, yeah? Like the glasses, or trainings from the distance, or servicing from the distance, or whatever. Yeah? About the learnings from COVID, I think there are a lot of learnings. We have learned, and there are statistics about it, that companies that have been prepared for COVID, for other stuffs, not for COVID, but they have been prepared in order for digital processes to ensure that they would avoid any surprises that may happen in the market and so on. Companies that have been implemented Industry 4.0 technologies in advance, they have been going much faster through the pandemic, much better. One first topic is, do we have ability to connect everybody from the distance? March 20th or March 13th, it was the time when it was a Friday the 13th in March. We have sent all our people at home, everybody with its computer, and then are you able to connect everybody on the same time to your network? So are you prepared for that? The people that has not been prepared for that, they had to adapt pretty fast, and the one that have not adapted pretty fast have, in many cases, lost a lot of money or even lost the companies. So technology is a big help, even for topics that you even don't know that it's going to happen. Yeah. That's one of our learnings.
Yes, yes, we completely agree that keeping everybody safe and is the more important thing, because if we lost the people, we can do nothing. Yes, you're. Thank you very much. Yes, Pablo, for your presentation. Dear
What?
Pablo, yes, we have one more question from YouTube. Uh, Dear Pablo, Siemens is leading corporation when it comes about cybersecurity policies. How is the regulatory scenarios on cybersec in Brazil?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Thanks,
Cybersec
Gabriel.
is gonna cybersec is gonna be the big challenge in Brazil, in all over the world because of all the digital transformation. The main challenge is gonna be cybersec. We have established, this is a movement from Siemens worldwide. The Charter of Trust is a signature from big companies in order to look for a world that is able to work in a digital environment that is free of those attacks and free of all those topics. In Brazil, we are at this moment, average maybe in a bad shape because we have a lot of hackers in Brazil. Um, One of the first, I would say, concerns that we have at Siemens is critical infrastructure, because someone can attack my account in the bank. Okay, Pablo is going to lose some money. Okay, who cares? Pablo and family. But what happens if something happens like in US, attacking the gas piping or attacking electrical power distributions? You can stop a country with that. And everybody, we from Siemens, we have a lot of portfolios, these 7SJ relays and so on, all communicated and so in order to make the digital grid happening. What happens if someone enters there and stop everything, and maybe, I don't know, it takes a while in order to start up again? It's a big cost for the country. So there are some regulations being established. There are a lot of discussions. We're working that through SEBRI. I think, are we in a good shape now? I don't think so. Are we working on that? Brazil as a country, yes, Brazil is working on that. I can imagine this is a challenge that it's like, I think it's gonna be more or less like the challenge between software and hardware. you know, as soon as you have, software is starting to be heavy, then you need a new hardware. Hardware is, we have a new hardware, Pentium, whatever. Oh, now it's coming a new software. And we have seen that through the time between Windows and IBM, you needed to buy one or the other. I think this is more or less what's going to happen in cybersec. As much as we protect, the more the hackers are more clever or looking for new alternatives. And as much as we do, it's something that we're going to have to live for a while with this topic.
Yes, thank you. Gabriel, it's okay, Gabriel. Your question?
Uh, I consider this theme very, very actually, because some time ago I read a book, Z- Countdown to Zero Day, from King Zetter. Uh, in this book, the author discuss some, how I say, uh, terrorist actions, including from governments, utilizing the attack from infrastructure, and it's clear in the past the people from automation and the people from cybersecurity don't talk. This culture is to make this bridge between these peoples completely different have to be because the ingenuity, the naive is lost. There are many examples, word examples from the danger about the infrastructure. Really, I recommend the Countdown to Zero Day. It's a great book. Okay.
Good suggestion. Thank you, Alexandre.
And Pablo, this cybersecurity is a biggest challenge to Industry 4.0 too, because anybody can can use your robot, can use your machine. Then this is one of the biggest problem in the Industry 4.0. What do you think about?
100%. That's, as I said, it's really the biggest challenge for all this digital transformation. For instance, for 5G, you have seen that we have gone through a big discussions in terms of opening a chance for private to register a place where it's using this 3.7 gigahertz frequency band and paying directly to Anatel. And one of the reasons for that is it's not only cybersec, it's also restricting the data of industries sometimes, because it's maybe you're not losing, but losing the data, maybe if it is coming in the wrong hands, it's also a problem, even if they're not acting onto your operations. But maybe someone has data about your production, that you had an issue there in your productions that we are maybe not able to deliver, or so. There are a lot of topics concerning in terms of cybersec, and then 5G is going to be a challenge too for that, and all the Industry 4.0 for sure.
Yes, thanks. There are any questions from YouTube? Acácio, you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Pablo, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, your presentation. Yes, every time we need anything about Siemens, you help us for a long years. Then we thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation. It is my pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. All the INDUSCON committee appreciate your presentation, and everybody from YouTube too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye bye.
All right.